Okay, here we're back at this machine, and we are going to go ahead and stitch in the back where the buttons are going to go, and then around the neck hole. See, my fabric's gotten a little off right there, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to scoot it up with my fingers and then just hold it and keep going. Okay, this little pink dot, I don't know if you can see it, is where we're going to turn at. I just made a little dot. It's 5/8 of an inch in and 5/8 of an inch down, and that's where we're going to make our turn at. We're going to sew right up to the dot, and then we're going to back stitch a couple stitches, and then we're going to sew right back to the dot again. To the dot, back stitch, to the dot again. Okay, now you're going to leave your needle down into the fabric, pick up your foot, and turn your whole piece. Okay, now we're going to put the foot back down. I'll take this little pin out here so we don't sew into it. Okay, now we're going to stitch 2 stitches, go back to, and then go ahead and complete around to the other side. This just anchors it, anchors the corner so that when you turn it, you run less risk of pushing the fabric through the corner, which is really frustrating, so that's why we do this. When you get to the part where you have your seams that we are layering, so to speak, make sure that your seam is the same as you did it on the other side so that they're not turned. Okay, here we're going to come up to our corner again. Leave the needle in and then turn. And there we go. Okay, we'll go back to the table now. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and cut down these seam allowances, just like we did on the shoulder seam. And we're just going to cut halfway between the edge of the fabric and your stitching line. And just cut that off. Okay, now what we're going to, and we're going to do that for all the seams that we have sewn, except for this back seam where we're going to put the buttons at. You do not cut these seams down, and I'll show you what to do with those in just a minute. But for the armholes and the neck hole, we're going to go ahead and cut them down. And I'm going to take my real fine sharp clippers, and we're going to cut little notches, just a little cut right in the fabric, all the way about 1/8 of an inch away from, I don't know if you can see that, about 1/8 of an inch away from your stitches. Okay, we're going to do that, and we're going to cut them about 3/8 to 1/4 of an inch apart, all the way around. Make sure you don't cut right on the seam. If there's a seam there, don't cut right on it, just cut on either side of it. And this way when we turn it, then the fabric can lay, it can move, and it can lay the way it needs to, and it makes a really nice, flat, pretty edge. And people usually don't take the time to do this, and you have to. It's one of those finishing things. Okay, so we'll go back to the back here. What we're going to do, we are not going to cut the seam allowance at the back edge where the buttons are going to go, or the snaps or whatever, because we want that amount of fabric so that we have a good anchor for a buttonhole or a snap, and it has some extra fabric there to anchor to. But what we are going to do is we're going to cut down this corner So what we're going to do is we're going to cut about 1/8 of an inch away, maybe just a slight bit more, straight across the corner. Like that. Okay? Then what we're going to do, this should be already cut down here. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take it from that point where the corner is, where you cut to, and we're going to go ahead and take out another slice, and we're going to do the same this way, like that. Okay, and then takes that excess fabric out of the corner so you can turn a nice, pretty sharp corner. Okay, I'll finish grading down these seams, and then we'll turn it, and we'll talk about putting the bottom piece on. Okay, now we're all done clipping our seams, and we're going to go ahead and turn it. It doesn't matter really where you start, but you're just going to go ahead and pull through one of the shoulders. And just keep on pulling. Kind of work it. And then pull the other front through the other shoulder. Okay, there we go. Okay, there we go. Now we just need to go to the ironing board, and you need to make sure that you press all of these seams. Just go ahead and press them flat all the way around. See how nice and flat that lays already? We haven't even pressed it yet. That's from all the clipping and cutting down of the seams that we did. So it'll make it nice and professional looking, and look at that, beautiful. Okay, so I'll go press this, and then we'll talk about adding the skirt and finishing the back. Okay, now we're ready to finish the bodice. We've turned it, we've pressed it, and we're going to do the side seams now. So as you can see, they're not finished, and what we're going to do is we're going to open it up. So we're going to open up the front, and we're going to open up the back, and they're already right sides together. You can see how they're going to fit. And we're just going to run one continuous stitch so the linings match and the fronts match. Now on this seam, instead of laying one way and one the other way, we're going to lay them both the same way, and we're going to lay them both to the back. And so that way on the front there's not a little bump there either, and it'll be nice and flat. So we'll go ahead and use a 5/8 seam allowance and just stitch all the way straight down like that. And we'll do it to this side, and then we'll go ahead and do it to this other side too. And then that will be the side seams all finished up, and then the bodice is all ready for the skirt to be added. What we're going to do for the skirt is we are going to cut a piece. On the original pattern, the skirt is very, very long because it's actually made for a dress. But I want this to be like a little shirt that you can wear, just comes below the waist, maybe most length to the hip. You can wear little leggings under it, or you can wear another different skirt, or you can wear jeans, shorts, something like that. So what I did is I cut this piece 45 inches, which is from the selvage edge to the other selvage edge. So it's just folded in half, so it's just the width of your fabric. And then I made it 9 inches deep, because that's how long I think that I want, and really that's about how much fabric I had. This is what's great about being able to Frankenstein stuff, so to speak, is you can use what you have. It doesn't have to be exact. The pattern doesn't have to match exactly, so you can use what you have available to you. So 45 inches wide, which is the width of the fabric, by 9 inches. So I will go finish the side seams, and then we'll come back and figure out what we're going to do to put the skirt on.